Welcome back in. Good afternoon. This is the Joe Gaither Show on Kane Central, our weekly episode on Miami Hurricanes on SI. We appreciate everybody jumping in and joining us on the Miami Hurricanes YouTube channel, Miami Hurricanes on SI, YouTube channel. You're also finding me at Joe Gaither 6 on my own social media machines, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. You can check us out each and every week on the Miami Hurricanes on SI. Proud part of the Walsh Writing Network. Last week, we had a lot of fun breaking down wide receivers. We're going to keep the position groups going with our friend Justice Sandle. You're following him on the social media machine at Justice_News5. And you're following all his work on Kane Central at Kane Central SI as we get ready for the 2024 football season. You got ACC Media Days 2 weeks away, so we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. We're going to talk defensive line. Justice, how we doing today, sir?
Good. How are you doing?
Oh, having a good day. Ready for the weekend. I'm ready to actually get out to Dallas for the ACC Media Days. But it's going to be, 48, 49, 50 days away from Miami getting its season going. We had a lot of fun last week with the wide receivers. What do you say we flip it to the defensive side of the ball today?
Absolutely. Talk about the defensive line and how they have many star players coming in, and even with their own star player in Rueben Bain Jr., just continue to grow and be one of the best defensive lines maybe in the country.
Oh boy, last week you kind of turned me up on the wide receivers, and we have highlighted the offense a lot during this program. We talked about Cam Ward being one of the better quarterbacks in the ACC. Looking forward to this year from the offensive side of the football. But we want to just get a general overview, and then we'll start looking at some of these players. A lot of transfers have come in. Mario Cristobal hit the transfer portal hard on the defensive line. What's your overall impression of this position group before we dive into it and break some of these guys down?
I think it's one of the best in the ACC, if not the best in the ACC. You got plenty quality players. You got Tyler Barron from Tennessee, who was a very big impact player. And he also has a lot of similarities to Jalen Phillips, who's in the NFL now, but he also played for Miami as well as one of those edge rushers. So Simeon Barrow Jr., CJ Clark, and just a bunch of quality players that will blend in and mesh around what they already have with those extra edge rushers.
All right, so we looked at it right before the show. Miami's defense last year was, 12th in the country in rushing yards allowed, giving up, 105 rushing yards per game last year. That's really, really good. Yep. But to bring in a lot of these transfers, how do you expect that continuity to continue in 2024?
Well, they have Jason Taylor as their line coach. So, and he's a football Hall of Famer. He is one of the best to play the game as well as teach the game. So I think that it might take a little bit of time, even though they have Florida starting out. I think it'll take a little bit of time for them to mesh together. But once they have an understanding of what they need to do, I think it'll be a continual process of them improving and growing and just expanding on what they already know.
All right, so whenever I think Miami, and especially Miami defensive line, I think athletic freak. Is that still going to be the case with this group?
Absolutely. I think all around, it's just straight athletic freaks, even with the transfers, even with Rueben Bain Jr., even with Akeem Mesidor, even though he got injured last season. It's just athletic freaks all around. Even with the transfer portal and all the recruits that they're coming in, that's their main priority with Miami, athletic freaks. That's what they want, and that's who they're going to get. That's what they've been bringing in. And with that and the explosiveness, the athleticism, and the flexibility that they have, I think it'll be a continual way of how the program continues.
All right, let's talk about the two transfers that we don't have film for yet, but we will pop up some film on the on three of these guys. We'll pop up some film for our viewers to watch on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter on Tyler Barron, Rueben Bain Jr., and Akeem Mesidor. If you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, you can check that out. We will describe those as best we can for our podcast listeners on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon. We're doing this weekly on Kane Central, Miami Hurricanes on SI. But let's start with the two transfers that we don't really have. I didn't have highlight clips pulled up for. And I want to start with maybe the lesser of the two in CJ Clark out of NC State. He's going to be really going into his senior year, but you look at his basically his stat line. He's got 3 freshman years at NC State, obviously one of them the COVID year. So he's really playing a super senior year, 5th year in college football. He's played really starter level minutes for the Wolfpack over the last 2 seasons. What do you see in CJ Clark, and what's he going to add to the Miami defensive line?
I think with CJ Clark, he is a good run defender. So with what Miami had last season and how they were able to stop the run at the rate that they were able to stop the run, CJ Clark will fit in smoothly. I think it'll be a rotation between CJ Clark and many of the other players. He won't see a lot of minutes, but he'll see those key snaps on first and second down when they're about to run the ball. He finished his career with the Wolfpack, 72 tackles, 7.5 for loss. 4 sacks, nothing too impressive, but his size and his speed and what he's able to do, he's going to wrap up around a couple of running backs. And even with how many versatile quarterbacks that are in the ACC and where they're able to run, I think he'll be able to wrap around them and get them to where they need to go.
All right, the other guy had a lot of offseason drama. Simeon Barrow Jr. from Michigan State. He's committing to Miami. He's not committing to Miami. And then finally, I think this happened 3 different times before he officially said, okay, I am committing to Miami. He's going into his 4th year in college football, played basically starters level minutes the last 3 years for Michigan State. He's got, 110 career tackles, 10.5 career sacks. So he's been all over the place, 18.5 career tackles for a loss. First, let's talk about the drama that was his offseason. What do you know about Simeon Barrow? What went into his drama about where I'm going to transfer to? And then also, what will he bring to the Miami defensive line?
I think with the drama-wise, I believe it was more of NIL and him making that's a big jump. Michigan coming to Miami. That's a lot of travel distance. That's a lot of, I want to be here. I don't want to be here. Is this the best place for me? And plus, with all the different transfers that did come in, would he be able to see that playing time like he did at Michigan State? So I think that was one of the main key things. But with that, I think he'll be able to get an opportunity to show that he is one of the best linemen in the country as well. Now, he didn't perform particularly too well against those games against like the Penn States and the Ohio States because those are some of the best offensive lines in the country. Even when you go against some of the ACC offensive lines, he'll have to show that he is one of those top level players. But I think that what he can do, he's another good run stopper. Same way with CJ Clark. He'll be on one of those transitional pieces in and out of the lineup. So, like you said, he's all over the place. Over 100 tackles, over 10.5 sacks, those type of things. He's going to get to where he needs to go. So I think it'll be another good piece for what the line needs to be for the Hurricanes.
All right, so who you want to start with first? You want to start looking at Akeem Mesidor, Rueben Bain Jr., or Tyler Barron? Dealer's choice.
Let's start with Akeem Mesidor because it's a transitional piece to where we need to go. So starting out with Akeem Mesidor, he got injured last season in the 3rd game of last season. This is 2022 highlights right here. So he got injured. Him getting injured allowed Rueben Bain to get that playing time and allowed him to get into that starting role. So, but with Akeem Mesidor, what is he going to do? He's going to do the same thing off the edge, the same way that Rueben Bain does. So you're going to have both of them coming off the edge, maybe one at one side, one at the other, or they can just rotate in and out for what they need to do. Quick, physical, and he's going to get after where he needs to get after, like it's being shown right here, right now. So 7 sacks, 38 tackles. He's just going to push off. He's a very physical and strong edge rusher. So he's always able to swim under, be able to get to where he needs to go, and he's going to attack with a purpose. He's going to get after where he needs to get after. So that's one of the main things that needs to be highlighted with him.
All right, so how do you think the injury? How do you first, what was he injured with, and second, how do you think he responds to another year where he is going to be healthy?
It was a lower body injury. So with one of those things dealing with the lower body, a lot of recovery, it's going to take time. So even with sports medicine and how it is in today's game, you can come back at 100%. You can come back 80, 90%. I think that we'll still get the same level of production that he had in the 2022 season. I won't say it won't be as extensive and as much possibly. You might get around 30 tackles, maybe 5 sacks, even if he comes back with that stat line right there with the 38, 10.5 tackles for loss, 7 sacks. That'll still be a very productive season. I think
7 sacks is big for college football.
Exactly. So I think if you add that and bring that back, I think it'll be a good season for him.
Well, we'll have to see how he does and how he fits into this defensive line room. You look at the defensive line room, and it's really kind of crowded. You've got Tyler Barron and Rueben Bain kind of selected as projected starters, but if you got a third rusher like Akeem Mesidor, if he's able to give you a 7-sack season, that's a heck of a stat line for a third rusher.
Yeah, absolutely. And see, with him, he's going to come back, and he was basically the mentor for Rueben Bain for what he was doing last season. So I would say that having that type of stat line coming back off of injury, it'll only add to his NFL draft stock as well. If he's able to recover well from the injury and then play the way that he was playing in the 2022 season, he'll just continue to grow.
All right, so let's keep it going. You want Tyler Barron or Rueben Bain next?
It's going to Rueben Bain next.
Rueben Bain, the stud on the defensive line.
Yeah, he just Germaned somebody right there with complete ease. You got to think about it. That's a true freshman right there. The 2023 Defensive Rookie of the Year for the ACC. He was all defensive third team for all ACC, and he had many All-American freshman accolades from many different places. So I think with what Rueben Bain and what he was able to do last season, he's just a freak of nature. Like we said with Miami, what they're going to do, they're going to be freaks of nature. He is one of those freaks of nature. I think in a bit further on in one of the clips it's going to show, he's tossing offensive linemen around. He's a freshman, 18 years old. He shouldn't be doing that to 22, 23-year-old men. That shouldn't really happen. And plus, he could arguably be the best defender in the ACC, and that was just as a freshman last year. Even this season going on, all he's going to do is get better or grow. He's going to be stronger and wiser in everything that he can do. Right here, this is against Drake May, number 3 pick in the NFL draft. Well, I thought it would show it. It didn't. But the quickness that if you show right here, he's lined up at the edge on your right-hand side, completely burst past everybody. Boom. That's a fumble right there. He's quick, fast, explosive, and that's what you want out of your edge rushers, especially for what Miami has. And even coming in his sophomore year, he has a projection of being a possible top 10 pick in the 2026 draft. That is how high people have him on that draft board, and that is how many people have that expectations around him. He is one of the best in the country, and if he continues to play the way that he played last season and going into this season, he could be in a run for Defensive Player of the Year too.
Ooh, stiff arming this offensive tackle from Clemson, getting right into the backfield and getting a hand on the football. This guy's impressive, and I didn't really realize maybe the talent level that he brought in himself, and really just the talent level. Oh, my gosh, swimming from outside to inside for a sack right there. They're surely going to show this again. Yeah, he posts up and basically just shoves the offensive tackle out of the way. He's in the quarterback's face right as soon as he takes the snap. So this is a fellow, 7.5 sacks as a freshman. That's really, I mean, that's freshman All-American type statistics. Justice, the expectations, you've taken me from 3-4 weeks ago when we did the game-by-game predictions. I think I had 8-5 as my final record for 2024. You've taken my expectations for Miami from there to maybe I've undersold the Miami Hurricanes. This is a lot of talent that Mario Cristobal is going to have to be dealing with. So, one, I mean, that's a great problem to have. But let's project or let's pretend that it goes wrong. What would go wrong? What would be the reason that it goes wrong for Miami? Because these guys are really, really talented.
Okay, knock on wood.
Of course.
Knock on wood, injuries, because the level of talent on that roster, you could say it's a top 10 roster in the entire country with the level of talent that is on that roster. You could make that argument. Now, it will come down to coaching. It'll come down to Cristobal and the way that he games plans for a lot of these plays. That's what happened last season. They started out so strong with what they wanted to do. Then all of a sudden, coaching mistake after coaching mistake, mismanagement of the clock, mismanagement of players on the field, off the field, things like that. That's the only reason that's going to hold this team back. But if they are able to get that group of talent that they have this season and let them perform, there is no reason that they shouldn't be a top 12 team and should make the playoffs. That's why when we made those predictions earlier, I had them 10-2 with the loss to Florida State and Louisville. Realistically, with all the talent that they have, they could go undefeated. That is being high praise right there. I know a lot of people will be like, I don't think that'll happen, blah, 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 blah. With the talent that they have on this roster, over 4K yards possibly on offense. With the defense on the defensive side, defensive front, one of the best in the country. The secondary is where things start to kind of question mark of what actually this team can do. Because I know a lot of teams will try and throw on them. That's what they did last season. A great run defense, but the passing defense was iffy on most games. So for what they can do, it is one of the best teams in the country on talent-wise. And the only reason they would make those mistakes and just everything goes completely wrong, injuries and or coaching, just coaching mishaps all over the world.
That's what I'm worried about for our buddy Mario Cristobal. If this doesn't work out, and obviously we never pull for injuries, so all these guys will stay healthy on every college football team. We want everybody throughout the country to stay healthy. If this doesn't go right, Mario Cristobal is going to have some heat under his rear end.
I think he's on the hot seat now if he doesn't. Like recruit outside of recruiting, he will be fantastic no matter what. In the next coming weeks, there's possibly like 3 5-stars that the team is possibly getting, pushing them into the top 5, maybe even the number 1 slot for the 2025 class. Recruiting aside, everything depends on Mario Cristobal's coaching. That is all it does. If he coaches well, and if he gets to that level of what he did with the Oregon team with those Pac-12 championships, and he brings the ACC championship, I don't think there will be any worries. He'll probably get a contract extension, and he'll do those things. If he doesn't do that, at least this season or within next season, it's a lot of hot seat questions and possibly the question of who will be that next head coach.
All right, let's move on. The last guy that we're going to look at together, right there, is Tyler Barron. Barron, transfer out of Tennessee. First off, what did you get out of him, and what do you see?
Like I said earlier, many people have, and many draft analysts have compared him to Jalen Phillips, who plays for the Miami Dolphins right now, but did play for the Miami Hurricanes during it was that COVID year, the 2020-21 season. But Phillips went in the first round, number 18. And for what that season was for the Hurricanes, I believe, if my memory serves correct, they were 8-2 that season with him rushing off the edge. If he is some semblance of what Phillips was for the program, like I said, this team should be very talented. He has a lot of SEC experience as he's played over the years, just his speed, athleticism, and he's just a physical raw talent. And like right there, running back with an easy touchdown. He's creating space while he's doing that too, while those offensive line are chasing him. He's going to easily wrap up around quarterbacks. That's one of the main things about him. 16 total tackles. He had 6 sacks this season as well. And I know that playing against some of these top teams in the SEC, a lot of stats will be kind of mirrored because of what the offensive line capabilities of the SEC has. So, but for the most part, he is a very talented player as well. He's going to get after whoever he needs to get after. He's going to swim through any offensive lineman, and he's going to attack with a purpose.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of speed. Explosion is kind of what you're seeing out of him, chasing down from the backside right here on against Missouri. This makes me just personally happy that he's not wearing Tennessee orange anymore.
I can understand that. I mean, him getting those years in the SEC will only help him in the long run because of how competitive the SEC is in football. So bringing that to the ACC and knowing that it's a heavy defensive conference in the same vein that SEC is, I think it'll only add to the Hurricanes and what their defensive line can do.
All right, let's talk about these guys from a transfer perspective. You got 3 really talented players out of the transfer portal.
Yeah.
How important do you think it was that NIL was involved for Miami? Obviously, we already touched on it with Simeon Barrow Jr., but do you think it's more NIL-based that they all chose Miami, or do you think it's the scheme and the system that Lance Guidry is running, or maybe even Mario Cristobal's personality? What do you think it was that attracted these 3 players to Miami?
I think it's all of those things combined. NIL, of course, it's Miami. It's one of the most historical programs in the entire country dealing with football. They're going to have money to throw around, so they're going to throw around to try and get the program back to where it was. I think Mario Cristobal and his personality, he's a coaching person. He likes to coach. A lot of people like to get along with him, but then back and forth about the different types of coaching styles that he has and the way that he coaches on the field, the way he manages a game, like an in-game perspective. Those are the things that kind of give people question marks. I think that another thing is that they realized that with this roster, there's a chance to do great things and also bring back a historical program back to relevance, because it's been a while since the program has had that historical relevance and have that national media around them. But when Miami's doing good, the rest of the college world is also doing good. So I think that was one of those other things that brought all those transfers to come over. I think they see it as an opportunity to restore the program to what it once was.
All right, so we're talking with Justice Sandle of Kane Central Miami Hurricanes on SI. Just type Miami Hurricanes SI into your Google machine. It'll pop right up. Or you can follow him on the Twitter machine at Kane Central SI or at Justice_News 5. All right, we got ACC Media Days 2 weeks away. So next week's show is going to be much more focused on ACC Media Days. But let's just take a couple of minutes to do some hypotheticals to kind of set us up for next week's conversation.
Okay.
First thing is I want to get your opinion on DJ Uiagalelei from Florida State, not Miami, from Florida State, the rival, saying, okay, I'm not going to ACC Media Days. We got to send some players who were on the Florida State team last year for the undefeated season.
I understand why you do that. Good team player, team chemistry, team chemistry points are going to go up for that. I think you would want to talk to your quarterback at the ACC Media Day. You would want to talk to your quarterback. I understand why he didn't do it. Great team leader move, great on all those aspects, but you want to talk to your quarterback. And plus, especially coming off an ACC championship after what happened to Jordan Travis last season and bringing in a new quarterback, you want to talk to your quarterback. I don't think it's the best thing for him not to talk. I understand why he isn't talking, but I think he should talk. But that's his personal choice right there. So I understand why he's doing it. Team chemistry grade, good job. It's going up. But for fans and other people alike, 50-50.
It's not good for the media folk. We want to hear from the quarterback, So let's tie it to Miami. Obviously, Cam Ward would be the most, highly thought of, highly touted player for the Miami Hurricanes. We're expecting Cam Ward not to make the same decision, correct?
Oh, no, he should be there. If he's not there, it's for personal reasons. Outside of that, he should be one of the main focal points that Miami has there. Rueben Bain possibly will be there too. He was their best defensive player. Plus, it'll be a good opportunity to see what people want out of him in his upcoming sophomore season. Francis and Francisco Muiaga, the two brothers that play for Miami, I would say maybe a few of the transfer players too, maybe a Tyler Barron, maybe Damian Martinez, maybe some of those players that you would want to see because of their impact that they had on previous teams and what they can do for the Hurricanes. You'll probably see some of those players as well.
All right, so they're only going to take 3 players. I'm pretty sure that's the rules. You got to take 3 players, 2 ACC Media Days. I'm going to bet on Cam Ward. Mm-hmm. I'm going to bet on Restrepo, and then I'm going to bet on one of these defenders, maybe even Akeem Mesidor coming off an injury, somebody that's been there a while. Francisco Mayoga, that's a good pick. That's going to be kind of my 3. I'm going to go with Xavier Restrepo, Cam Ward, and I guess nail me down with Francisco Mayoga are my predictions for next week. Last thing for us as we're hanging out with Justice, we're going to put you we're going to ask the same question twice, so this week and next week.
Okay.
Mario Cristobal comes up to the microphone. Justice Sandle is sitting in there in the big room, and you got your hand raised. The microphone comes to you. What is the one question that you're going to ask Mario Cristobal that you would ask if you got the microphone passed to you at ACC Media Days?
Why is the expectation different this season than it's been last season? That's my biggest question, because there's a lot of excitement. There's some new players, newness all around. Different transfers, different NIL deals, different things like that. So what are the expectations that you have now with these new players and what you want for this program to be? Because he says he wants to return the U to the way that it used to be. So what are those What are those expectations for this season, and how can you transcend that into getting new recruits and getting more people in for the future seasons as well?
All right, we're going to ask you the same question next week, and we'll see if your answer stays the same. But next week, we're also going to have you answer it as Mario Cristobal. We're going to flip it around. We're going to put you up at the podium and pretend that you're Mario Cristobal. Justice, tell everybody what you're working on between now and next week, because ACC Media Days is coming up very soon. What's going to be what can the people find at Miami Hurricanes on SI?
Got a couple recruiting stories going out in a few weeks. Got a number of recruits coming in. Possibly a number of 5 stars. I got a hot seat opinion piece that I'm getting ready to put out about Mario Cristobal, so I'll see how that goes. But outside of that, just getting ready for ACC Media Day and preparing to do those things.
Absolutely. Justice, make sure you go follow him at Justice_News 5. I appreciate your time today, Justice.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And thank you guys for watching us today on Cane Central. You watched us on the Miami Hurricanes on SI YouTube channel. You watched it on my own social media machines, on my own YouTube channel at JoeGaither6 on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And we appreciate everybody who subscribed, rated, and reviewed the show on their favorite podcast platforms. You can find the show on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, or Spotify, whatever you listen to your podcast platforms. We'll be bringing it to you each and every week. It's the Joe Gaither Show on Cane Central, the Miami Hurricanes on SI.